Hi good people, Titus here for part 10 of our Flashbang series, and in this video we're going to prepare our model for export by creating low and high polygon versions. We'll also need to set up very specific naming tags so Marmoset knows how to handle the bake. Lastly, we'll be color ID tagging our model and applying the mod stack to prepare for the UV unwrapping. Let's not waste any more time and jump right into it. Alright, so before we do anything else, I highly recommend you back up your model. So whether that means duplicating it and putting it into a backup collection, or literally backing up your Blender file, just something, because the work we're going to be doing is going to be destructive. So there's going to be basically no going back unless you do this. Alright, but yeah, let's actually switch my mat cat back to studio. I know I did say that we were done modeling. I did forget. I wanted to add an accent to this lower piece here. So let's select the charge, isolate it with /, and then tab into edit mode. And then you can actually just alt select this loop cup right there, and then just press GG, edge slide it down just a smidge. And then we can Control B to bevel. Use your mouse wheel to scroll up and add 2 segments, just like that. And then I'll just kind of space it out. And then that way when we look at it, it just looks a little bit more interesting. Let's come out of isolation. The other thing I didn't really care for was this pin seems a bit long. So what we can do is just tab into edit mode. We'll select, go into face selection, select the end faces here. We can grow the selection with Control+, and then we can grab with G, press Y to lock it in the Y axis, shift it in, and then I'll also grab in the Z and just bring it down just a bit. Alright, looks good. So the way we're doing the modeling, we're going to have 2 copies of this model. One's going to be a low dense model and the other one's going to be high dense. In Unreal Engine, we're going to be working with the lower polygon count one, just because it's more optimized. It's going to look a lot worse though. So one thing we can do is we can use Marmoset, and we can basically bake the light information, the light and shadows, from the high dense model into a texture map. And then in Unreal Engine, we'll just apply the texture map and it'll kind of fake the fidelity. And I'll kind of show you what I mean once we get there. In order for Marmoset to read these files, we need to have very specific naming conventions. So let's expand our collection here. I was doing pretty good naming them, but then I kind of stopped. So these names are basically not going to work for us. So I'm just going to shift select everything. And just to make it easier on myself, we're going to go to Edit, Batch Rename. We're going to set it to set name for the type, and the method is going to be new. And we'll just rename everything object. It'll go through and increment just like that. Now this is going to be our high poly model, so we can go back into Edit, Batch Rename. This time we're going to set the method to suffix and then change it to _high. It is very important that you use this exact designation. Marmoset does not know how to read anything else. So if you use _HP or something else, you're going to find that when you import it, your model may not show up. So make sure it is exactly like this as I have it, _high. We'll click OK. You'll see it appended _high at the end. We can now press M, move this to a new collection. We'll just call it HP for high poly. The collection name itself does not matter. It's the mesh object that matters. So we got that there. Now the next thing we'll want to do is we'll want to duplicate it. So press Shift D. We have our copy. We can simply right click, snap it back into place. Press M to move it to a new collection, and you probably already guessed it, this one's going to be LP for low poly. There is a problem though. You'll notice the high poly has the underscore high designation, but the low poly has the underscore high designation as well, which we can't use. It should still be selected though, so we can just simply go to Edit, Batch Rename. This time we're going to set the type to Find and Replace. We will have it target, looks like underscore high dot 001. And then we will replace it with underscore low. Oops. There we go. And it is important that you do it on a LOW, all lowercase. If you do caps or if you do it just LP, again, Marmoset will not import it correctly. And you'll find that when we get to the Marmoset import, like your some of your materials may not, or not your materials, but your object may not show up. We'll click OK. And then we'll go through, and at first glance it looks okay, but we need to do a little bit of double checking. So the way it works is each object needs to have the exact identical name, with the only exception being the suffix. So if I select object underscore high, we can see that's the text at the top. So if I click out of that, if I go to the low poly version and I select object underscore low, its counterpart, it should be the same object. Same thing if I click on the tank. Looks like the tank is number 10 low. So if I click out of it, we'll go to the high version and we'll select 10. It's the tank. So you may want to go through and just check a few of these just to make sure that the naming tags line up identical. Because if they don't, this isn't going to work. So that's a very important step. But looks good so far. Let's go ahead. We'll work with the low poly first. So I'm going to hide the high poly. And now I'm going to expand this up a bit. We're going to go into our modifier stack. And on the low poly, we want to remove any modifiers that are going to add poly counts, basically. So anything that's going to add vertices, it's going to increase our density. So we'll just do a quick run through. And like this one right here, it's got a subdivision. Just hit X, and you'll notice the quality of the mesh has already gone down. It also has a mirror object. Let's just go ahead and apply the mirror. We're pretty much done. We might add mirrors for when we're doing some, we're going to be doing some retopology, but that's going to be very specific. So, and I don't know if we are or not. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of them for now. The ring doesn't have anything. The pins. So for the pins, these are probably going to be a little bit. Let me see how much density we got. So currently we're at 200, and I have this expanded out to 1, to 2. So for the pins, I am actually going to apply the subserve, because they're very kind of low poly count already, and that part may stand out. So for these, let's actually apply them. But make sure you only do like one viewport level. All right, let's go back here. And looking at these, which piece is this? Okay, so that's this guy. We can close out of that. And anything that's got a Boolean cut, which this one does, we can apply it from the top down. So you can hit top, apply, so those get added. And that's gonna be our handle. So this one will apply our Boolean cut. This one we may wanna leave the mirror. We'll just add it back if we need it, that's fine. Apply the mirror there. And this guy here, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it's not bad. So for this one, we're not going to apply the subdivision, so we'll get rid of it. Hit the X, so it'll look like that. And the text objects, we're not gonna be able to do anything with those because they're not meshes. And that one's already at the top. So for the text, actually, what we can do is just shift select all the text objects in the low poly version and just press X to delete it. We can actually bake that in from the high poly mesh, so we don't even need it. All right, let's get a quick look here. Let's go ahead and Alt Z, select everything, then tab and into edit mode. Oops. If it'll let me go. Hang on, let me get rid of my camera. Oops, maybe I have something else selected that I shouldn't. Oh, there we go. Must have had something else selected. Okay, so I want to see how we're doing on our poly count. So you can see at the bottom here, if you select an object and you go into edit mode, at the bottom you can actually see your triangle count. So currently we're at pretty close to 12,000, which is pretty high for just a regular object like this. Generally what I see from like an actual character model, on a high poly character model, I'll see it maybe a few 100,000 tries. A mid poly is like 30 to 60,000 tries. And then like low, like really low poly, like something you're probably planning on doing like on a mobile game, you know, maybe like maybe just a few thousand. So this isn't bad, but you got to remember too, this is also just like a regular game object, so still a bit high. But we can address that here in a second, or try to bring the count down a little bit lower. So let's tab back in object mode. Just for now, let's hide our low poly. We're going to go into our high poly, and we're going to do the opposite. So in this one, we're going to go through all the different objects, and we're going to make sure that it has all the subdivision applied at a higher tier, so we can get that higher fidelity. So looking at this guy here, apply the mirror. For the subsurf, I'm actually going to bump this to 2, and apply that. 3 doesn't have anything. So for the pins, we actually did, because the pins are a little, they're definitely going to show, I think. So I'm being a little bit cautious with those, so I applied a low resolution on the lower one. But on the high one, I'm actually going to bump this maybe to a 3 to make it really smooth. Then we'll apply that there. And then same thing on this guy. We'll bump this to 3 and apply. So now you can see, like, when you look at the mesh there, it's really, really dense. It doesn't have anything on it. And this guy. All right, we will bump this to, I think 2. Yeah, 2 looks good. That's 1. That's none at all. And that's 2. I don't really notice the difference with 3, so I think 2 will be what we use for that. All right, and then this one is going to be for our Boolean cuts. It's going to be those right there, so we'll just apply those, get them out of the way. And then for our handle, Boolean cut, and the mirror is fine. And for this guy, this actually already looks pretty good already. Oh, it's already at 2, that's probably why. Yeah, and I don't notice a difference when I jump it to 3. So I think 2 is going to be just fine for that. We'll probably have a little bit of a fun time trying to, because I think we have to paint a middle section in that, so it's going to be fun with it being as dense as it is. But okay, so now let's take a look at how we did on this one. Alt Z X-ray, just select that entire thing, come out of X-ray. Now if I tab into edit mode, We can come down to the bottom. So we were dealing with around 12,000 tries. And on this one, we can see we're at 110,000. So there's a lot more fidelity on this one. So yeah, looking pretty good so far. We're still gonna have to go through a little bit of retopology on specifically on the lower poly model. But before we do that, since we're already in the high poly anyways, we do have an issue actually. Let me bring down the viewport so you can kind of see it here. You'll notice the low poly group has less objects than the high poly group, which makes sense because we deleted the text. But we still need to nest the text objects, so we're not going to want to. So we want the same number count basically. So the way we can do that is we can select. I'm actually going to select all the text here. Actually, with the exception of the top. I'm just going to select these bottom text here, which is all these guys, and then I'll shift select the top and bottom cap, and I'll press / to isolate. I'm then going to try and select just this top part, like that. And then I'll shift select the cap last, and then I'll just press Control P, and I'm going to parent to the object. So now it just basically becomes part of it, but it's still separate. And then same thing on here. You can just simply select this guy and shift select the bottom cap second, Control P, select parent to object, and then we can press / to come out of it. So now when you click the top or bottom cap, if you try to move it, text goes with it. That's perfect. The last one we'll need to do is the handle and this piece here. Now this one's a little bit different. This text, if you notice, we engraved it, and because we engraved it, we had to convert it to a mesh. So because we did that, it makes more sense just to select the text, shift select the handle last, and then press Control J to join it. So now it is actually, it's not parented, it is literally one object. And that's going to be a much better way to do that for engraving. Just for the bake anyways. Alright, so now when we look at our models, we have 1 through 10. And over here we have 1 through 10 for the low poly and the high poly. So we're looking pretty good. So yeah, let's move on to color ID tagging. This part's pretty simple. We're doing this because in Marmoset, when we're actually assigning the colors, it uses ID tags. So we basically have to set that up beforehand. And it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to collapse the low poly because we're not going to be working on that yet. I will select the top one. I'm actually going to drag this window up a little bit higher. And I'm going to go down into our material properties here, which is this little circle. And I'm just going to click new. And then I can select the base color. And I'm just going to pick something like green. Doesn't matter what you pick, honestly. If you don't see the color, you'll just want to click the viewport, or you can press Z and make sure you're in material preview. And perfect. So now we have this piece color coded. I am going to have the bottom cap portion be a different color. The way I do that is I will assign one solid color first, and then I will tab into edit mode. And in face select, I can select the bottom face, just like I did before, Control + to grow the selection. I can then hit the + over here in the material object properties to add a new material. I can hit new, I can assign it, and you can see it has that material ID assigned already. And then I just simply have to give it a color. So let's just do that sort of color, as long as it's different. That's all that matters. If you use the exact same color, then Marmoset's going to read it as the same group, so let's make sure it's a different color. Even if it's slightly different, it'll still work. Yeah, that looks good. So we'll go to the next one. Same thing. We'll do new color. And choose the base color. This one we're going to make blue. Now this one's actually pretty interesting because if you look at our reference image, which I still have, yes. Maybe I don't. Oh, I didn't have it checked. Maybe I don't have it. Hang on. I guess I don't have it. I must have, something's wrong with my reference collection, but that's all right. The tank and the top and bottom caps are actually the same color. So what you can do is you can shift select, well, you can select the tank, shift select the bottom cap, and then shift select the colored cap last, and then you can press Control L, and then you can link materials, and it'll automatically do it for you. If that's too much work, you can just simply select the object, go down, hit this drop down, and you can select the last material too. So either way. But all right. This one is a little bit tricky because on the tank, there is a separate section. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this one. Because it's so dense, I'm gonna have to get a little bit tricky with this. What I'll do is I'll go to Edge Select. I'm going to find the closest edge at the top, which you can see is that one. And then I'm going to Shift Alt select the top version of that. And then what you can do is you can hold Control, click Face Select. It'll convert it into a face selection. And it's not perfect, but you can do Control Plus, and you can grow the selection to a point that makes sense. And you can see that is right about there. I don't really want to go any further because it really doesn't make sense on the model. So now we unfortunately have to do kind of the hard way now. So what we can do is, it looks like it is grabbing, maybe I can grow it once more, hang on, Control Plus. I'm gonna grab it a few more. I'm actually gonna get, because I want a little bit of the inside of the thing there too, which I like that, that's good. Okay, so what I can do, if I'm really careful, I can hold Shift Alt with Face Select and just click the top here, and it'll grab those faces for me. And then on the other side, I can do the same thing. Shift Alt right there. And you can see I've already messed up that one, but that's okay. And then I will Shift Select those two here, which means I messed up on this side as well, but it's only a couple. So this will be a little bit painful. Maybe I'll speed this up for you guys so you don't have to watch it. But then on these parts, you can just press C for circle select, and then you can just simply go through and select here. Now the reason I'm not doing, oops. And if you do C for circle select, you can actually right click or left click, whatever that is, and actually deselect as well. The reason I'm not doing the inside is because looking at my reference image, the paint is actually just on the exterior. So we kind of have to do it this way. You could also assign, like if you get to a point, like you could assign the material orally if you don't want to kind of do it in one group, or if you want to do it instead in like break it up into sections, that works fine too. All right, so let's do Alt Shift. This would be kind of boring. All right. And Shift Select. select these. That looks pretty good. Circle select here. And then press enter to confirm the circle select. Alright, I'm just playing with my viewport, just making sure I get it just lined up just right. See if I can get one of these. Got it that time. Alright, and that side's already done, so I'll go C, circle select. Gotta do there, and then enter. You can see this is kind of where I messed up on the other side, but that's okay. Just do shift select. And then I can do shift alt. Looks okay. Then press C for circle select. I'll lock that in, turn my camera so I don't mess this up, and just get the edge there. Alright, come in here. I'm gonna do shift alt, click near the top of the line. And I'm hitting those skinny ones, so I'm not gonna try. Yeah, I probably will just do that with circle select. And then enter, lock it in, rotate the camera to the side, circle select, enter, lock it in, and we just got one more. Alright, so I'll lock my camera to the side, circle select, that seems to be working okay, enter, pan the camera over, circle select, C for circle select, and then enter. And then I'm going to give it a once over. I'm pretty happy with that selection. But yeah, just to show you what I was talking about earlier, like say you missed one or you wanted to do it in groups, what you can do is you can actually just hit the plus sign and you can hit assign. And then what you can do is you can come over, select that face. Well, we actually want to click new. So we'll go ahead and click that face, click there, and then hit assign, and it'll be the same color. Same ID tag anyways. Speaking of which, we will go down and we will change this color to be like a purple or something, I don't know. Is that purple? Maybe that's purple. Alright, let's come out of isolation mode, give it a once over, looks good. Alright, so now let's go into our fuse. And actually don't need to isolate, we'll just hit new. Hit the drop down here. Let's do red. And now the pins and the rings are going to be the same color. So I'm going to give them the same color ID tag. They're basically going to be like a metallic. So, I mean, we can still alter it even if it's the same color ID. But basically in the object, things that are going to be the same should basically have the same color ID tag. So we can do new. And we'll do this one as maybe a yellow. And then just to make it easy, you can select the pins and the other rings, and then shift select your colored ring last. Control L, do link materials, and then they're all the same. And then our handle is going to be a separate one, so we'll hit new, give it a base color. Let's do orangish, somewhere around there. Now, what's interesting about the handle actually is we have a separate color that we need to cut in. So I'll go to line select. I'm going to do Control R, and I'll drag that maybe right about there. And then I'm going to scale that in the Z by 0 just to flatten it out. And then I can go to 3, Alt Z, go to face select, and I want to select pretty much that entire section there. So let's come out of color mode, just make sure everything's good, because that is actually a separate color. So what we'll do is we'll hit new, assign, and then we'll make it its own color. Which I need to think of a color here, running out. Somewhere around there. Like I said, the colors don't matter, just as long as they are different. You should be all right. Now the last thing we'll do is the looks like the text. Now the top text is going to be the same for the handle because that's engraved, but the bottom text here is actually different. So we'll hit new, and what haven't I used yet? Let's go with something like that. That looks mildly different. Yeah, should be. Okay. And to get the other text, we can just, oops, I'm in edit mode. Can I undo? Shift S. Oh, wait. I'm messing up. All right, Shift S, cursor to world origin. There we go. All right, so now I will try to select the other text. And we actually select this bottom text as well. And we select the text that we colored last. And then Control L, link the materials. And now they all have the same material instance there. All right. Now I was originally going to go into read topology, but I think this video is already getting pretty long, so I think we're going to basically cut it here, just to keep it short. So the next video we'll be doing read topology, and then I might start UV unwrapping, or I might save it for its own video, because the UV unwrapping part is going to be a long one. So we'll see how we do. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the vid. If you did, consider subscribing or leaving a like. But otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.